Friends, let us start with the new topic, capital gains. Of course, at the end of the topic of profits and gains from business and profession, I explained in brief what is the Vodafone case and Supreme Court judgment and how the reversal are being made by the Finance Act of 2012. Now, in that context, first we start with what the amendments that are brought in the definitions. The first definition as a student we learn in the capital gains topic is definition of capital asset, which is given in section 2 clause 14. Without this amendment being given effect, first let us get into that particular definition, what the law defines the capital asset. Capital asset is defined as what? Property of any kind. When I say property of any kind, it could be a movable property or immovable property, tangible property or intangible property, whether the SSE is holding the same either for the purpose of business or profession or not. There are certain specific exclusions from the definition of the capital asset. What are those specific exclusions? One is rural agricultural land, and second one is the your personal effects, and then stock in trade held for the purpose of the business. Of course, special bearer bonds and gold bonds are there. These are the specific exclusions from the definition of the capital asset. Now, when Supreme Court said controlling interest in an Indian entity cannot be treated as a capital asset, now the amendment is being brought in section 2 clause 14, stating that even such kind of controlling interest in a company directly or indirectly could amount to what is it? A property, and it could be well treated as a capital asset. Because for taxing under the head capital gains, there must be a capital asset and it must have undergone a transfer. So first the law plugged in this particular point and said your property, that is your capital asset definition, you have to take it like this. What is this definition now as amended, how it appears like? See, the point here is an explanation is being inserted to section 2 clause 14 to clarify the term property. As per this explanation, property includes any rights in or in relation to an Indian company, including the rights of the management or control or any other rights whatsoever. So that means your property includes rights, and those rights could be right to control the Indian company. So this explanation is inserted to supersede the ruling of Supreme Court in case of Vodafone, wherein it was held that influence, persuasion of a parent company over its subsidiary company could not be construed as a right in a legal sense. So prior to this amendment, such kind of the controlling interest cannot be treated as a property. Now, in order to revert this particular Supreme Court judgment, there is an amendment which is being made in the definition of the capital asset, whereby they have inserted an explanation. So first take this particular point, write down explanation to section 2 clause 14, explanation to section 2 clause 14, brackets, definition of capital asset. 2 clause 14 deals with what? Definition of a capital asset. Now what this explanation says, that is the term property includes any rights in or in relation to an Indian company, in or in relation to an Indian company, including the management, or control or any other rights whatsoever. Now I am moving to section 2 clause 47 friends. 2 clause 47 deals with what? Definition of transfer. What is the definition of the transfer? Of course, first let us understand that and then come to the amendment part. How the transfer is being defined under section 2 clause 47? Transfer includes sale, exchange, relinquishment of the asset and extinguishment of a right in the asset, conversion of a capital asset into stock in trade, compulsory acquisition, and any transferred covered by the section 53A of Transfer of Property Act, or anything that you are doing enabling the other person to enjoy the property. This will be taken as a what is a transfer definition. Now what is the point here is, again, this amendment and the insertion of this explanation is also warranted to supersede the Supreme Court judgment in the Vodafone case only. Point here is, the Supreme Court in the case of Vodafone International Limited gave a ruling of what? Transfer of the foreign holding company's share offshore cannot result in an extinguishment of holding company's right of control of an Indian company, and the same does not constitute the extinguishment and transfer of the asset or management and control of the property situated in India. So when Hudson International transferred the shares to the Vodafone, Hudson International is getting the capital gains and Vodafone is the payer of the consideration. Payer is under an obligation to deduct the tax at source, and it has not deducted is what the Indian Income Tax Department's context. Which Supreme Court said no, there is no capital gain, so accordingly we can't consider Vodafone as a SSE deemed default, because in the offshore and the outside the country, if shares are getting transferred, shares of one non-resident company is getting transferred between two non-resident companies, you can't say that since the shares, that is the companies whose shares are getting transferred, they are having the shareholding in Indian company, so indirectly that Vodafone is getting the right to control the Hudson SR Limited here in India, it will attract the capital gains. You can't say like that is what they said. And to revert this particular thing, they have inserted an explanation in section 2 clause 47. And what is the explanation? That is an explanation that is being inserted. To supersede the aforesaid ruling, section 2 clause 47 has been amended with retrospective effect. Prospective amendments are acceptable. What is a retrospective amendment? Retrospective amendment is a crime that the government is doing on the citizens. Because when I make planning of tax, I do it based on the provisions and the benefits that are coming to me out of those provisions. Now you are trying to bring out a amendment with a retrospective effect. That means whatever the planning that I have done based on the law which is prevailing at that particular point of time, you are trying to take away all that benefits from me. But friends, try to understand why the retrospective amendments will come into the law. Because when the people try to defeat the purposive intent of the law, lawmaker is supposed to bring the, what is it, the retrospective amendments. But here nobody accepts that there is any willful intent in Vodafone or Hudson International, but somehow unknowingly they are caught into this particular mess. And having brought them into this particular mess, now the government don't want to go back. Even when Supreme Court said it is unreasonable, they have made an amendment and that they have brought it with a retrospective effects. Now transfer includes what? Disposing of or parting with an asset or an interest therein. Creating, consequent to such kind of disposing or parting of with an asset or interest, creating any interest in any asset in any manner whatsoever, directly or indirectly, absolutely or conditionally, voluntarily or involuntarily. What a beautiful music. What is it? Let me again enjoy it. Creating any interest in any asset in any manner whatsoever, directly or indirectly, absolutely or conditionally, voluntarily or involuntarily. ऐसा प्रोविजंस पढ़ के क्या हो जाता हमारे लाइफ में भी, जब भी हम दूसरों से बात करें तो ऐसा ही बात करते, so that fellow tomorrow unknowingly do something also, we will say that day itself I told like this. You open the document which I made you to write. The poor other fellow might have wrote and accepted that without knowing what we are writing. That must be the intelligence of the chartered accountants. As a future chartered accountant, you are supposed to read so many documents, you are supposed to write so many documents. So try to enjoy this kind of learning. Don't feel bored that या ये क्या है, इतना बड़ा एक्सप्लेनेशन मैं कैसे दिमाग में लगा के कैसा रिप्रोड्यूस करते. तुम्हारा जिंदगी भर ऐसा ही फ्रेजेस और सेंटेंसेस से जीना है, तो व्हाट कैन नॉट बी अवॉइडेड, काइंडली एंजॉय इट. चलो बैक टू द पॉइंट. बाय वे ऑफ एन एग्रीमेंट, whether entered into India or outside India or otherwise, notwithstanding that such a transfer of rights has characterized as being affected or dependent upon flowing from the transfer of the share or shares of the company registered or incorporated outside India. So, if the paper setter wanted to make your life a drama, he will ask you to write the definition of the transfer with the new explanation that is being inserted. Write down. That is explanation to section 2 clause 47. No, not explanation. It is straight away amending the section itself. Section 2 clause 47. Section 2 clause 47. 2 clause 47. Transfer includes apart from the things which you have already learned, A, disposing or parting with, an asset, or interest therein, What is the difference between disposing and parting? Because somehow I have to remember, you have to remember these things. Disposing or parting with an asset or any interest there. Disposing का मतलब क्या हुआ? I have used an asset and it became useless and I am throwing it away. वो क्या होता? Disposing. I am using it but I don't like it, so I will part it. I will part it from it. Right? Friends, please to remember, parting is a part and parcel of the life. In any relationship, we have to part. Right? But and every parting will have a sense of death. Only thing is, you have to understand that in every parting, whether in that association I have grown or not, and I have made any value addition to the system or not. We will part from our children, we will part from our parents, we will part from our teachers, we will part from our principals. Only thing is, all time what you have to think of is, when I joined this organization, how is the organization and how I am, and at the time I am leaving, how am I and how is the organization, right? Just to put you to understanding of parting, which is a point here, but that is not what we are discussing here. Disposing or parting with an asset or interest therein. Next, or B. Creating any interest. Creating any interest in any asset. Creating any interest in any asset in any manner whatsoever, comma, directly or indirectly, comma, absolutely or conditionally, comma, voluntarily or involuntarily, comma, by way of an agreement, brackets, whether entered into India, in India or outside India, brackets close, or otherwise, comma, notwithstanding that, such a transfer of right, notwithstanding that such a transfer of right has been characterized as being affected, or dependent upon, or flowing from, the share, from the transfer of the share, flowing from the transfer of a share, or shares of a company, registered or incorporated outside India are incorporated outside India. Then friends, now one more loophole which they want to plug in. See, law will be drafted with a lot of care and so many people will review and then only it comes as a law. But despite of that, there could be certain things unknowingly by oversight we may miss. And later on when they are being pointed out by others, we have to correct it. Normally, in the capital gains topic, the principle is what? That is, cost to the previous owner is the cost to the present owner in case if the thing is covered by section 49(1). What is the cost of acquisition? In some cases, I may not be paying the consideration, then cost of acquisition will be the cost to the previous owner, like that the provisions are there. And that and all happens more particularly when section 47 comes into play. Section 47 deals with what? Section 2 clause 47 deals with the definition of the transfer. Section 47 deals with the transactions not to be regarded as a transfer. So where the transactions are not to be regarded as a transfer, when the capital asset is getting transferred from one person to the another person, since that is not attracting any capital gains tax, we say cost to the present owner is the cost to the previous owner, like that. So one of the things stated in section 47 is, if a sole proprietary concern or a partnership firm is going to get converted into company, then it shall not be regarded as a transfer subjected to the satisfaction of the conditions. That the sole proprietor should become the shareholder of that particular company, holding 51% of the share capital, and he should continue to hold like that for 5 years, and the assets which are taken on conversion should not be disposed of, like that some conditions are there. Now subsequently when the company wanted to make sale of these assets, now the question arises, what is the cost of acquisition? Earlier the law has not specifically stated that even for this transaction also cost to the previous owner is the cost to the present owner. Now they want to correct it. So where the transfer of an asset from one person to the another person is not regarded as a transfer under section 47, then computing the capital gains on subsequent sale by the transferee, the cost of acquisition for the successor under section 49 is taken as that of the predecessor. So cost of acquisition for a company is not specifically covered under section 49 when converted from sole proprietary or partnership. Now they have amended and said that in this scenario also cost of acquisition of the proprietorship or the partnership which got converted into the company, that will be the cost of acquisition even for the company also is a point. So please make note of it. Section 49/47. Section 49/47. Cost of acquisition was not defined. Cost of acquisition was not defined for cases where assets gets transferred, to the company by the sole proprietary or the partnership firm. Finance Act 2012 brought an amendment. Finance Act 2011 brought an amendment. And now the cost of acquisition to the company in respect of assets received by it, would be cost to the proprietary firm, or the partnership firm. Who said so? Section 49 says so. Section 49 says so. Similarly, what is this limited liability partnership firm? That is, a private limited company gets converted into limited liability partnership firm. So when a private limited company gets converted into limited liability partnership, the assets are getting transferred from the private limited company to the limited liability partnership. Now in the hands of the limited liability partnership firm also, what is the cost of acquisition of these assets which it got from the private limited company is the cost to the private limited company will be the cost to the present owner. So write down that also. Similarly when an unlisted company is converted into, LLP, limited liability partnership, cost to the company shall be treated as cost to the LLP. Of course, there is a possibility of a small question like this being tested, and once you are through with the provision, answering this question is not a very big task. Neeraja was carrying a textile business under the proprietorship concern, Neeraja Textiles. On 21/7/2012, the business of Neeraja Textiles was succeeded by New Look Textiles Private Limited. And all the assets and liabilities of Neeraja Textile on the date becomes the assets and liabilities of the New Look Textile Private Limited, and Neeraja was given 52% shares in the share capital of the company. No other consideration was given to Neeraja on account of this succession. The assets and liabilities of the Neeraja Textile transferred to the company included an urban land which was acquired by the Neeraja on 19/7/2009 for rupees 9,80,000. Now the company sold the same on 30/3/2013 for 15 lakhs. Discuss the tax implications of the above transactions and compute the income chargeable to the tax in such cases. See, first thing is whether you know section 47 clause 14. In case of a proprietorship concern is succeeded by a company in the business, carried on by it, and as a result of which any capital asset is transferred to the company, then the same shall not be treated as a transfer and will not be chargeable to the capital gains tax, provided some conditions are met with. What are those conditions, friends? First, all the assets and liabilities of the proprietorship should be transferred to the company. That is, becomes the assets and liabilities of the company. Number 2 is the shareholding of that particular proprietor in the company should not be less than 50% of the voting power of the company, and it should continue to remain like that for how many years? 5 years. And the sole proprietor should not receive any other consideration from the company except for the allotment of the shares. So in the present condition, in the present question, all the conditions are met with. Happy well we say the transaction is not to be considered as a transfer. So no capital gains do arise for what is it? Neeraja. Now the point here is like taxability in case of transfer of land by the New Look Company Limited. After receiving from Neeraja, New Look Company Limited transferred the what is it? That particular land. So what is stated as per the provisions of section 49(1) and the explanation 1 to section 2 clause 42A, in case of a capital asset is transferred in the circumstances mentioned under section 47 clause 14, the cost of the asset to the company will be the cost to the sole proprietor. Consequently, in determining the period of holding, what we say, period of holding of the previous owner should be added to the period of holding of the present owner. What is the relevance of the period of holding? Based on the period of holding only we will be saying what is the long term and what is the short term. Long term capital asset is an asset which the SSE is holding for more than 36 months. But in this case, New Look Limited holding period is less only. But the previous owner's what is it, period of holding also will be added to the period of holding of the present owner in respect of the transfers covered by section 47 clause 14. So definitely it's a long term capital asset only. So the urban land shall be a long term capital asset since it is held for more than 36 months by New Look Textiles Limited and Neeraja Textiles taken together. That's what previous owner's period of holding should also be added to the period of holding of the present owner is a point. Now cost of acquisition of the land in the hands of the company shall be 9,80,000. That is purchase cost of the previous owner. What is the purchase cost in the hands of Neeraja? It is 9,80,000. Now the point here is, friends, there is a small controversy here. In case of a long term capital assets, I have to calculate the indexed cost of acquisition. Now what is the point here is, I am taking the cost to the previous owner as the cost to the present owner. I am adding the period of holding of the previous owner to the period of holding of the present owner. Is it that benefit of indexation I have to give from the previous owner date of holding or from the present owner's date of holding? All the solutions in the institute examination or in the institute material says that you have to take in which year the present owner is started holding this particular asset. From that year only you give the benefit of indexation. But there are some high court judgments which says that you can give the benefit of indexation from the year in which the previous owner is holding that particular assets. But the solution is prepared with our institute understanding only. That is, net sale consideration is 15 lakhs and indexed cost of acquisition, what I am saying, 9,80,000 is the cost to the previous owner divided by the index of the year of acquisition. This year only 2012 and 13 only they have acquired now. So 852 is the present 2012 and 13 index multiplied by the index of the year of transfer. The same year you have sold multiplied by 852, thereby you get 9,80,000 only, thereby 5,20,000 is a long term capital gain. Now the point here is, the year of transfer and the year in which the company first held the asset are the same in this case. So which is the reason why numerator and denominator for calculating the indexed cost of acquisition would remain the same. Therefore, in effect there is no benefit of indexation in this particular case. But however, as per the view expressed by the Bombay High Court, in case cost of such asset in the hands of the previous owner, the indexation benefit would be available from the year in which the capital asset is acquired by the previous owner. if this view is considered, then indexed cost of acquisition would have to be calculated from which financial year? 2009 and 10, that is the year in which the Neeraja is holding that particular assets. So if that is the case, slightly there could be a change in the calculation of your capital gain is a point. But in any case, from the examination point of view, what is relevant? 47 class 14 and problem you can expect in this particular manner. The amendment is very simple. Cost to the previous owner is the cost to the present owner. But since amendment is being brought there, they will ask you to write all those conditions also. What are all those conditions? They are more or less similar to what the conditions you have learned for amalgamation, to be called as amalgamation in the nature of the merger. Of course, similar conditions. I am not saying same conditions. There also we will find all assets and liabilities of the vendor company must be taken over by the purchasing company. Like that, here also all the assets and liabilities of the proprietor or the partnership firm should be taken over by the company, and proprietor or partners should hold shares carrying 50% of the voting power. Be careful with the sentence construction and words. If the student writes that the proprietor or the partnership firm should, partners of the partnership firm should hold in the company 50% of the shares, wrong. Shares giving 50% of the voting power in the company, they should hold, and they should continue to hold like that for 5 years is a point. No other consideration should have been received. Then it shall not be regarded as a transfer, and subsequently if the company want to make sale of that particular shares, cost to the previous owner is the cost to the present owner, and period of holding of the previous owner will be added to the period of holding of the present owner. Then benefit of indexation must be given only from the financial year in which the present owner is holding those particular assets, right? But taking, that is considering the time factor, I am not making you to write. Otherwise, I love to see that student write anything which is relevant for the examination. At least write a small note. As a students, write down, as a students, we should write in our refer before exam notes. As a students, we should write in our refer before exam notes all the conditions given in section 47 clause 14 to be satisfied for such a transfer to be not to be regarded as a transfer, to be not to be regarded as a transfer. और एक नोट भी लिखो while doing the ICA problems, while doing a problem in ICA examination, benefit of indexation must be given only from the year in which the present owner, brackets, that is company, acquired the assets, और एक बात लिखो, index for the year 2012 and 13, index for the CII, cost of inflation index, CII, cost of inflation index for the year 2000, financial year 2012 and 13 is 852. CII for 2012 and 13, financial year 12 and 13 is 852. You can't expect your examiner to tell you what is the relevant previous year's index. As a student, you have to remember it. 852. Okay. Now I move to the next situation. Section 47 clause 7. What is it? That is, this section is amended with effect from assessment year 2013 and 14. It is now provided that when a subsidiary company amalgamates with a holding company, the requirements of the issue of shares of the amalgamated company on the amalgamation will not apply. What is it? See, amalgamation definition में हम क्या पढ़े? Purchase consideration must be discharged by issuing the shares, right? And government encourages amalgamations and gives lot of tax benefits for amalgamations. And for some years it became unnoticed. Today it is being noticed. Normally amalgamation means two companies are going into liquidation and a new company will be formed, or other way around, one company goes into liquidation, one or more companies goes into liquidation and an existing company will take over the business. In all that, generally what happened is two unrelated companies are only going to get amalgamated. Somehow in a particular situation, subsidiary company got amalgamated with the holding company. What is subsidiary company? Who is the investor in the subsidiary company? Holding company is only the investor in the subsidiary company. Now subsidiary company gets merged with the holding company. Purchase consideration is to be given to the subsidiary company by the holding company. If holding company issues the shares to the subsidiary company's liquidators, again those shares will come back to the holding company, because holding company is one of the shareholder of the subsidiary company. Is it required? Avasarama? No. So the law is amended, stating that such a requirement will not apply in case if amalgamation happens between a holding company and a subsidiary company. It's a point. Write down section 47 clause 7. Section 47 clause 7. When a subsidiary company amalgamates with holding company, when a subsidiary company amalgamates with a holding company, the requirement of the issue of shares, the requirement of issue of shares of the amalgamated company on amalgamation will not apply,